Hi, I'm Nikko HURTADO, and I'm at Black Anchor Collective in Hesperia, California. And this is my new Dia de los Muertos tattoo DVD. I'm actually putting this Dia de los Muertos tattoo DVD in order to, I had been doing a lot of the Day of the Dead tattoos lately, so I figured, you know, it was something that maybe people wanted to see, and I've seen a lot of them done lately, a lot of the tattoos, so I thought maybe I'd put my own input out there and have people kind of see how I do them. I'm actually covering the concept and design of like the makeup on the face and how I come about it, and like reference that I look at as far as like a skull and stuff like that. I'm covering a different palette than that I've been using but don't normally use in my color portrait stuff. So this is more of like a painter's palette, and you know, just trying to keep light source colors in light and shadows in shadow, and kind of using them together. So hopefully this creates a more 3D tattoo for you, and also covering value, shape, and the filigree, and just giving a different inside look at doing them, you know, a different angle of it if you're not thinking of it like that. So hopefully this helps you out. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started talking to my brother right here about which picture we're going to choose. Just looking on the computer and going through them and making sure you're choosing the right one for the place on the body. You know, different spots in the body, different pictures work. So just really trying to think about the way it's going to look. We're going to have to mirror image this picture because it was taken the opposite way. Sometimes pictures look funny like that, but this one actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look off. So this is the picture we chose. Go ahead and cut it up and get it ready. Placement, make sure it's not too big. Just put it on there and make sure it really fits and looks well. You know, he actually has another piece on the opposite side of that leg that, you know, me and Sean Barber did. So here's a skull, and when I'm doing the Day of the Dead stuff, I really trying to think about like the sockets and the way it rolls around, you know, like the makeup, and also about the nose, you know, just the way the cavity looks and kind of the shape of it, so that way it's not too big or not too small when you draw it on the face, because it has to be the right shapes, you know. I always notice that if it's too square around the eyes, like the actual like makeup on the faces, it ends up looking really funny. So you really just want to kind of see how that top of that, you know, forehead right inside of the socket kind of drops down and goes up towards the center. And then as far as like, you know, on the bottom, really thinking about the cheekbones and stuff and how you can use like the filigree to make the cheekbones look right. So just trying to make it look the best it can. And you can kind of see where it's going to be. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started in drawing on this and trying to get that shape. You know, I usually like to use the eyebrows because, you know, it goes up right there. I know eyebrows usually go up on the outside, but I usually drop them in. So yeah, that's pretty much where I like it, pretty much what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Thermofax paper and pull the center out just like we normally do, and you know, kind of show you how I trace this. So this is a mirror image copy of the actual piece I'm going to do on my brother. When I do it, I trace on it backwards because the stencil comes out on the opposite side, on the back side. So I usually use like a pen, like a pretty thick pen, like just like a big pen or something like that. Nothing too crazy. If you want to get crazy, you can use like a, you know, a mechanical pencil. Sorry. I flip it over. Usually what I do now is I go ahead and put it on the photocopier, just straight down like that. I put the purple side down after I stencil right on top of my thing. And what happens is the photocopier naturally, just on its own, no mirror imaging, no nothing, will print out the exact right piece of paper and the right stencil, so that way you can run through the Thermofax machine. So you see I use a mirror image copy. I go ahead and trace on top of that. I'm not going to use it backwards. It's the one I'm going to tattoo is actually going to be opposite. I put it on top of printer prints it out. The printer gives me my my paper I'm going to run through the thermofax. So real simple. Go ahead and show you here. And that's what comes out the printer. You know, so when you run it through the thermofax, it's perfect. It's the right, it's mirror image just right on its own. And you don't need mirror imaging on your actual printer. You just do it in the Photoshop like I normally do. And then you come out with a nice, perfect stencil that you can use. And you can keep running if you need to, you know, if you put it on and it ends up being blurred, you can just keep running them and getting new ones, you know. So that way you don't have to use just a one-shot stencil. And, you know, I usually make this stuff for my stencils. It's really strong. It's just like speed stick deodorant I put in, and I go ahead and melt it down in a microwave, and I mix it with you know, green soap, distilled water, and alcohol. It's usually 1 full stick of deodorant, melted down in the microwave about 15 seconds. That's the stuff right there. And then whatever the liquid comes out to, like the amount, I get the exact same amount of green soap and a distilled water, and it has to be like half green soap, half distilled water. And I go ahead and make sure it equals the same amount as the deodorant that was just melted. And then I mix them together, and then I put 2 caps of the alcohol bottle, like the actual caps on the bottle itself of alcohol. You put 2 caps into it and you shake it real well. It'll get a little thick. If it gets too thick, remelt it, add a little bit here and there. But the stuff is awesome. You know, see how well it sticks here? I mean, it works really great. See, you only pat it once and you try not to smudge it, but a little bit comes off. Give it about 10-15 minutes to dry, and that thing is going to be stuck on there the whole time you tattoo. It really is amazing stuff, real cheap to make. It only costs like, I don't know, maybe $3 to make it, and you have enough to last you a month or longer, you know. It's great stuff. I learned it from taking seminars and stuff like that. It's real cool. Usually I'll take my finger and just kind of smudge it to kind of get direction and an idea. You know, that's what those smudge marks are, just trying to get an idea of what I want, how far I want it to go, just kind of taking it off. I'll make sure to re-explain the stencil stuff one more time for you before the DVD's over, so that way you guys can make it and really, you know, understand it and use it, because it's really good stuff. So these are the machines I'm going to pick to use today on this Day of the Dead piece. The first machine is a Bloodhound machine. That's one of my favorite machines I've used. I'm actually going to use a 9 bug pin mag in that. The next one's a FK Iron. I'm going to use a 17 bug pin mag. The third one is a Bishop. Use a 5 round. And the last one's a shag built rotary. Use a loose 8 round. Now these are the tubes I'm going to use. That is a 17 mag tube right there. It's actually a 15 from, these are next generation tubes. So I got one for my 8, one for my 5, one for my 9, and one for my 17. The 17 and 9 are normally 15 and 7 mags with standard needles. So I'm going ahead and go and put these inks out. I put a black from Eternal. I put a plum. I went and put a dark purple out from Fusion. I put like an indigo blue from Intense. I put like a royal blue from Eternal. I put an icy blue from Fusion. I'm going to go ahead and put some more ink caps out. This is a different palette I've been using. Actually, I've been painting a bunch, just trying to relearn my color theory. My mind's been kind of blown by some painter artists I've met, and it's really made me humbled and made me hungry to learn more about color and really learn about light and shadow, you know. So I like to thank all these painters that I've met. So I went ahead, go ahead and put a light purple out from Fusion, putting out brown from a dark brown and a brown from Fusion, putting out like an ochre from Eternal ink. I wanted these on the light side where the light's hitting. I didn't want them on the shadow color side. So one row is actually what's in light, and one row is actually what's in shadow. So I was trying to keep that separate. I'm putting out a dark red. I think it's a pomegranate red. I put 2 of those out. Putting out a bright red from Intense. I think it's like a sunflower from Eternal. That's a ochre, a yellow ochre from Intense. It's an awesome color. It's a Mike DeMasi color. I really enjoy it. I put out burnt sienna from Fusion. I put a green, lime green out from Fusion, Tangelo from Fusion, like a wild orchid from Intense, something like that. A flesh tone from Eternal, a dark flesh tone from Fusion, putting out Plague, like something like, I don't know, Plague Brown or something. And then some golden yellow, some flesh tone from Fusion. Right now I'm putting, I was almost out of this one. This one's awesome. It's called Peachy Flesh, and it's from Eternal. It's an awesome color. I put 2 of those out. I'm going to mix a little bit of white in there. Well, actually, this is a light color I mixed myself. It's in an Eternal bottle, but I kind of mixed it. It's a little lighter. I use a little white in there too. And put some whites out. Just a bunch of white. I use a lot of white and some colors mixing down, things like that. So I'm going ahead and go put water over these colors. Just because it's a really warm day where I live, and so they're drying out, and I don't want to have to be hitting and barbing my needles on these the tops of these inks as they dry out. So, man, my hand's moving fast there. And this looks amazing right here. I like seeing the ink in the rinse cups like that. It's pretty cool. So go ahead, and I'm using a little bit of like a burnt sienna, and from actually the burnt sienna is from Eternal, I think, or Fusion, one of them. I'm not really sure. I think it might be Fusion actually that the burnt sienna is from, and mixing it with that brown, trying to get that orangey, dirty green color. So a little bit of brown from Fusion right there. And then mixing just a little bit of that burnt sienna again. And just hitting the water, trying to get that cool color that I wanted in the cheekbone. Just trying not to mix any white to lighten it up. Just trying to keep it away from mixing the light. I'm just trying to keep all my whites in the light source. You know, this is kind of like what I was trying to tell you is the things I've been learning. Just trying to keep that real separate. You know, that way the whites in the light source look a lot stronger, a lot better. So just trying to really rinse out. And you can see I'm keeping one dark rinse cup and one light rinse cup. It'll probably get dirty here real soon, but as of right now, I'm still trying to keep a light rinse cup. So my dark colors don't go into it. So I'm using a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of red and a little bit of tangelo color into the skin. It must have not been right, so I'm going to mix a little bit of that ochre to it. As you can see, my ink's drying up a little bit. I really hate that, but unfortunately where I live, it's a little bit dry and warm, and that's what happens. So you can avoid that with putting water on top and just kind of doing that stuff. So I'm just laying out that color. It's a real warm pinkish color. Right here I'm using that olive, man. That olive's awesome. A little bit of olive, a little bit of red in there. Just trying to mix it. Very, very little red, but little olive, little red. Just using that 17 mag bug pen. And just really trying to get that in there. His skin was pretty much pissed off at me at this point. You know, just really trying to just block it in. He's in a little bit of pain. Just trying not to kill him. So, just trying to make it look good. I really wasn't sure what I was doing, man. I just kind of blocked in those green shapes and just kind of went with it. A lot of times I just go with the feeling, you know. I don't really overthink things, you know. I think to overthink things hinders you, you know. You kind of just don't let things happen. Sometimes I let go and just follow whatever happens with what I'm looking at. I don't just go perfect. A little bit more Bactine, help them out. And honestly, like, this happened. Like, I knew I was going to do some kind of ray or some kind of something, but I really didn't know that I was going to come out with like this spike shape, you know. It just kind of formed that way, and I just kind of kept looking at it and looking back and seeing it, you know. And I just went with it, you know. I was like, wow, that looks cool, and I think that I like it. It wasn't planned out, you know. So just really trying to make it look cool. Yeah, and then I added this one, you know, and I really didn't enjoy that. It looks off. Like, if you look at it, it just doesn't go right. So I ended up covering a little bit, making it look like going distance a little bit more, a little further back, and just trying not to make it perfect. I wasn't too happy with that little area, but the rest of them I'm really happy with, and I'm sure down the line when I add more to the leg, I'll go into it more. But I didn't want the background to be too crazy. I wanted it to be real simple, almost like graphic. So yeah, so now I'm having fun, man. These are clean gloves, clean hands. I'm just putting out some colors. So I'm putting out some, I think, Peachy Flesh. I put out some, what was it, Creamsicle or Georgia Peach, Peachy Flesh, and I don't know what the other one is. The other one's like a light flesh color from like Intense or something. So just mixing a little bit of red into that, mixing a little dark flesh from a Fusion in that. And now just trying to get that cheekbone in there, get it into light. Just really trying. I needed to be a little bit lighter. Little Georgia Peach, little Peachy Flesh. Mixing this color in there, getting this cool little flesh tone in there. Yeah, that's a cool color right there. I like that mixture. This is the fun part to me. Now I can do all the light side, everything in light. It makes it really fun to me. So yeah, I'm really just trying to clean that machine out. The machine's probably dropping out a little color. Usually what I don't do, which I should do, and you guys should think about, is the back of the tube has all kinds of ink in it, and when you get it wet, it makes it all dirty, so sometimes you get in there and it just starts getting dirty, you know. But yeah, man, this is the fun part. Now I'm just spraying the bottle, you know. I clean the bottle off and put it on top of the desk, since I know I'm going to use the whole bottle of Bactine and just going to toss it anyway, so I just put it on the thing there and just spray my brother down every once in a while so he can, you know, have a little bit of help. You know, he's going through a lot. So yeah, just trying to get them shapes. Right here, I'm really paying attention. You know, the cheekbones always have this cross. If you look, you can see the cheekbone, and then you can see where the top of the teeth, like underneath the nose is. So I'm really trying to separate that. You can see how I'm like not going just straight across. There's actually like a cross there underneath the cheekbone. So now I'm just trying to keep my white clean. You know what I mean? I'm really rinsing my machine out, really rinsing my tube out, really cleaning that thing off to make sure my whites are clean, clean, clean. So now I'm just going in there, knocking in them highlights into the lips. These are the most important ones. You know, if you're going to stick highlights anywhere, you know, you want to put them in the lips and eyes and nose. I mean, that's what I do. You know, I think it's the most important parts. I tend to go a little crazy with white on these pieces because even though the whole face is solid and everything's going to tone down. It may look a little bit more crazy when I'm finished, but when it heals, it just has a slight little looking like it's carved into the skin. So I try not to overdo it, but sometimes, you know, overdoing of white is very easy to do, and, you know, unfortunately we all do it. But right here I'm just putting a little bit of white into the upper lip and just trying to make it look good and nice. And then I put that little white highlight, maybe it's even a little gray, kind of dotted up and just kind of faded off into the skin. I like the way that looks. And there's also a little bit of white here. You can see, like, sometimes decisions aren't the best. I put too much white right there, and you'll see me later go back into it because I wasn't quite happy with that, and it needed a little bit more of a transition, so I'll take my bag and just kind of clean it up because it just was too much for right there. So this kind of stuff, I left those little gaps because I want these to stand out a lot, and I just like for it to look carved into the skin, so like it's a part of her, not just makeup. So yeah, just putting these white highlights, making sure I'm paying attention, being very careful. I mean, this 5 rounds is very powerful in this rotary, you know, but you know, I'm really enjoying this rotary, you know. I mean, I jump around a lot with machines, you know, but I do it for the reason because it teaches me so much. Sometimes, man, you gotta try everything, you gotta try things. Unfortunately, sometimes it's permanent, but like, you know, if you're a good artist or a good tattooer, you'll be able to really make better decisions, and you know if something's chewing something up, or you know if it's overworking, or you know if it's too much, so you can stop using it. You know, those are the things we have to judge ourselves. But I mean, if I don't like something, I won't use it anymore. I won't ever use it. But if it's something I enjoy and makes me excited to tattoo, it's like a new toy, you know. I think it's one of those things that keep me excited on tattooing, keeps me excited on learning. And you know, I love new toys. I mean, it's my job, my hobby, and my love at the same time. So I really enjoy getting new things for it, trying new inks, trying new machines, new power supplies, everything, you know, just everything, trying new techniques, painting and trying new techniques with this. So really search outside of the box and really try to make yourself, you know, learn. And you can see here, you know, I love tattooing. I just really do. And I love art. So hopefully you guys feel the same, and you try to do your best. But yeah, this rotary is awesome. I'm really enjoying using it, and I switch all the time, man. Sometimes I'll use just all coils, sometimes I'll use all rotaries, sometimes I'll use all swash stripes. You know, just really, like, it's just how I feel that day, you know. I mean, I love jumping back and forth. I want to have an educated opinion on all these things, you know. Even Numas, you know, I'll use those once in a while and just kind of see, you know, and they feel great, man. Like, you know, like when you jump from one machine to the other, sometimes you just feel great. You know, it just feels so good to, like, get out of that box for a little while and try something different and new. So yeah, I'm just kind of adding little white highlights, really paying attention to where they're at, trying not to add too many, trying to make these eyes look glossy, have a little bit of emotion, you know. Trying not to overdo it, overwork it, you know. Just taking my time, making my decisions, making sure I'm happy with the decisions I made. You know, because these are forever. You know, this is a little yellow highlight right there in the eye, a little one right there in the eye. Really paying attention to it, you know. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this DVD, and hopefully you guys learn a lot. You know, so right now I'm getting that little bit of the yellow. You can see I put way more colors out now. So yeah, you know, under the eyelid I always leave like this little gap. And at the very end, I usually do it too. I usually do it before I do the white. I don't know why I waited, but you know, this time I guess I waited, and it's fine as long as I don't wipe it into the white. But I put it right underneath that eyeball and above the eye, like, lid, just to show that little gap of skin. You know, because if there was makeup, there'd be that dark line underneath the eyelid, and there'd be like that pinkish, fleshy color that would always be wet and that would never, you know, have makeup on it. So you really want to show that there's like that real living human being under there, you know, because this girl didn't have makeup on. You know, you have to make the makeup on, make it up. So you have to really think about those things. You have to think more in depth, like, what would this really be like, or what would it look like if she was wearing this, you know? So using a little bit more yellow, and just kind of adding those little highlights into the eyes, making them a little bit more believable, a little bit more cool, and, you know, just giving that emotion, that feeling, you know. That's the most important part of this piece of the eyes, you know. People just recognize and familiarize with that because that's what they look at all day. They look at people's eyes all day long. So yeah, just adding, you know, I like to do a lot of dots. You know, I do a lot of dots. Now I'm going underneath the eyelid because the way that the skin rolls and rolls around that eyeball. So, you know, how it looks. So I'm just kind of adding little white highlights around there. Real quick, you know, nothing real opaque, just enough. And now I'm using probably like a white, maybe a little flesh tone mixed in there. It's not something so crazy. But I like doing this stuff. I just try to be real gentle with it. Nothing real crazy. Just kind of packing in there real fast and getting out. Trying not to go over my line so that way I don't dig a ditch. It's just trying to make it real tight to real crisp. You know, I usually don't do this with a lot of my pieces. A lot of times I use a lot of soft edges, like you do in the like I did in the drapery. As you can see, I use a lot of soft edges in the drapery to kind of knock that back, knock it out of focus. And then, you know, everything else is tight. All the makeup's tight. The face is tight. You know, it really makes you look at her face. Nothing's really taking anything away from the face. You know, trying to make those decisions. So this is the final wipe down, and this is the tattoo. It took about 8.5 hours. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something new. You know, hopefully it gave you a different perspective on this, and have a good night. Thank you. I just finished the Dia de los Muertos tattoo. It was about 8.5 hour tattoo. It went really well. The skin was real good. The colors went in really well. The only thing that I think had a problem with more was the 5-round. It seemed like it was wanting to cut, so I had to really be careful with like laying the lines in there and not going too slow. So I had to actually mess with that a little bit and kind of make it work with it. Overall, the tattoo was fun. There was a lot of creativity in it because having to deal with the shape and value of the socket's nose to make them dark is one of the hardest things. But once you know and you kind of have an idea, then it helps you out. It went really well. Hopefully when you do it, you don't have a problem with the 5-round, but hopefully you learn something off of this information that I've given you on this DVD. I pretty much covered everything I do. Make sure that if you are going to attempt something like this, you draw it first, and make sure you can draw it first because it is permanent on people's bodies, and you don't want to make a permanent mistake. You know, everyone makes mistakes, but the least amount of them that you can make, the better you are. Make sure to keep an eye out for more DVDs coming from Black Anchor Collective and more DVDs from friends of mine that are going to be involved with helping people learn and education in tattooing. These tattoo DVDs are not meant for the beginner. These are meant for professionals that have been tattooing. So there is no setup and there is no teaching of how to tattoo. What there is teaching is just technique, and if you are a professional, you will understand these things I'm talking about. I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's helped me learn along the way. There's so many names that I could mention, but as far as, you know, the people out there, you know who you are, that have helped me learn tremendously. People I've worked with, people that I've had the chance to meet, people I've really looked up to. I've told you who you are. Thank you very much again. Got love for all you guys. Thank you for watching. This is Nikko HURTADO at Black Anchor Collective. Good night.